Good evening. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq offers his condolences on the death of late Amir His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq returns to the Sultanate after a short visit to the state of Kuwait. His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, may Allah rest his soul in peace, exerted great efforts to enhance peace and solve Arab and global issues. And the Sultanate resumes international flights after being suspended since March due to COVID-19 pandemic. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq offered his condolences on the death of His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, the late Emir of Kuwait, to the Kuwaiti royal family and the people of Kuwait during the reception by the Emir of Kuwait at the Emir Airport. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq expressed his deepest condolences to the Emir, the royal family and the people of Kuwait, and prayed to Allah the Almighty to give them patience and to find solace over their loss. The Emir of Kuwait expressed his gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq and his accompanying delegation for their sincere condolences, and prayed to Allah the Almighty to grant His Majesty health and to keep him and the Omani people away from any harm. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq was accompanied by an official delegation that includes the following. His Highness Sayyid Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the Council of Ministers. His Highness Sayyid Fatih bin Fahar Al Saeed, Special Envoy to His Majesty. His Highness Sayyid Taimur bin Asad Al Saeed, the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Central Bank of Oman. His Excellency Sayyid Khalid bin Hilal Al Busaidi, Minister of the Diwan of the Royal Court. His Excellency General Sultan bin Mohammed Al Nu'mani, Minister of Royal Office. His Excellency Sayyid Hamoud bin Faisal Al Busaidi, Minister of Interior. His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister. His Excellency Dr. Hamad bin Saeed Al Aufi, Head of the Private Office. His Excellency Sayyid Saud bin Hilal Al Busaidi, Minister of State and Governor of Muscat. His Excellency Dr. Abdullah bin Nasser Al Harrasi, Minister of Information. His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion, and His Excellency Dr. Saleh bin Amr Al Kharousi, the Sultanate's Ambassador to Kuwait. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq and the accompanying delegation of His Majesty returned to the country this evening from the state of Kuwait after a short visit during which he offered condolences to His Highness Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, the Emir of the state of Kuwait, Al Sabah ruling family and the people of Kuwait on the death of late His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah. May Allah rest his soul in peace. Earlier, His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq left for the state of Kuwait to offer condolences on the death of late Emir His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah. May Allah protect His Majesty and grant him good health, welfare and long life and success in leading his people towards further prosperity. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency Alpha Conde, President of Guinea, on his country's independence anniversary. A number of world leaders offered their condolences to the brotherly state of Kuwait on the death of His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah. May Allah rest his soul in peace. His Highness Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, Emir of Kuwait, received the delegations in the Emiri Airport and they included the President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, His Majesty the King of Jordan, Abdullah II Ibn al-Hussein, Iraqi President Burham Saleh, President of Tunisia Qais Said, and the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Bahrain, His Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa. The Islamic and Arab nations have lost one of its great leaders, late Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, may Allah rest his soul in peace, who had dedicated his life in the service of noble cause and good deeds. Here is a report.
The 29th of September in the afternoon, the Kuwaiti State TV interrupted its regular schedule to broadcast the recitation of the Holy Quran and an unexpected statement that was issued by the Emir Diwan of Kuwait, announcing the sad demise of Sheikh Al-Sabah, often called the Emir of Humanity and the Big Heart of Kuwait. One of the everlasting sons of the Khalij, Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, had departed. Sheikh Al-Sabah left and took with him the smile the children had loved, and the adults took comfort in its sight, and his known kindness seemingly overflows from. And so he filled his country with love and wisdom, and every onlooker is inspired by it to know the true meanings of love and tolerance. He was the champion of the poor and their caretaker, the father of the needy and their shelter. Humanity has known him as a pioneer of humanitarian work, and for it he was crowned for his great actions and achievements. That was As-Sabah, a Mecca of peace and tolerance, always using his wisdom and vision to take into his own hands to untie any difficult political knots with rationality and diplomacy, in order to lift Kuwait into a place fit for it, and to make it as a country of peace, tolerance, safety and security. He made it as a country of love. That's how he was. His departure left in the heart of the nation the pain of distance and the frustration of a farewell. Those were the feelings felt by the Omanis the moment the announcement of his death had come. The late Emir had always loved Oman, Sultan and people. As him and our own deceased, His Majesty the late Sultan Qaboos bin Said, may Allah rest his soul in peace, had shared a brotherly bond, both to peace and goodness. The Omanis and the world mourn the Emir of Humanity, the patron of the poor and their friend. Sheikh Al-Sabah fulfilled his duty with true fidelity. May Allah have mercy on him, and may his soul rest in heavens.
The retired Minister Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah said that the late Emir, His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, may Allah rest his soul in peace, was one that proposed Gulf Cooperation Council and was among the first people who worked to establish a strong formation for joint Arab work. He also said that the late Kuwaiti Emir was very cautious to ensure that initiatives establish bases for stability, security and peace in the region. The retired minister expressed his grief and offered his condolences over the demise of the Emir of Kuwait, saying that he will be missed not only by the Arab and Islamic world, but by the whole world. The retired minister Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah described him as a man with a strong will and unshaken principles. He added that the late Sheikh was not bothered by traveling a lot around the world, giving an example of his efforts in bridging the gap and bringing peace and stability during the war between Iran and Iraq. He played a role in the Palestinian issue by seeking to reconcile and saving the situation from deteriorating. The retired minister pointed out that His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah loved Oman and its people, and during his rule, the Omani-Kuwaiti relations have vastly developed. The late His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah will be remembered for his peace efforts in the region. More details in the following report. The late Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah was a great leader who was wise and moderate, had a long-term vision, dedicated his life to serve his country and the GCC states and called for dialogue, solidarity and unity among Arab countries to defend their just causes. His vision shaped Kuwait into the prosperous and modern state it is today, and his global leadership has resulted in lasting and positive change in Kuwait and the entire Middle East region. The Emir earned Kuwait the respectable role of a regional and international mediator. His Highness the Emir has developed a close relationship with the countries across the world and was a great humanitarian leader and a true friend of the world.
Sabah, Ahmed Sabah, the ruler of Kuwait, is being surely missed by the people of the Gulf, the Arabs generally, and the Muslim world. We have lost an outstanding leaders of high quality, Sheikh Sabah, who did all what he can to cement relations between the Gulf states from 1981, that's the time of the formation of the AGCC. He tried very hard using the resources the state of Kuwait is having to promote relations between the Gulf countries and beyond. We definitely lost a memorable leader who was a great ally of His Majesty the Sultan of Oman, and of course His Majesty Sultan Haytham is currently in Kuwait offering his own personal and the peoples of Oman condolences to the royal family in Kuwait. I have had the honor of meeting His Highness Sheikh Sabah many times in the 70s and early 80s in London mostly. He was, as ever, smiling, happy man, full of optimism, hoping that the Arab world will rise to the challenges which our area is facing. He's a man of principles, a generous man. The Kuwait was welcoming for the Arab Gulf people and for the Arabs generally. The Kuwaiti aids throughout the world. Whatever one will think, Kuwait is always a leader in sports, in culture. I remember the 60s, Kuwait was really the dominant role is played in the Gulf to promote culture, education, sport, music, arts. And to this day, we remember Kuwait with great memories, very fond of it, of its rulers, and of its people. I do hope that Kuwait will rise once more under the new leadership of Sheikh Nawaf. Wish him all the best and wish the Kuwaitis and the Arab Gulfs more coordinated policies to develop this area.
No doubt it's a big loss not only for the Arab and Islamic countries but for the entire world. The late Amir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah, is a prominent figure. He is unique and a great leader. He played a big role in order for the stability and the peace of our region and reconciliation between the Gulf countries, and his initiative for the countries in order to return and stay together. He cooperated with Oman in order to fulfill this goal. We really will miss such a great leader.
Oman and Kuwait are rooted by ancient ties of amity, one destiny and common goals, the relation of which has been strengthened with cooperation between the government of two countries, work to promote peace and maintain unity. Sheikh Sabah, the Prince of Humanity, led his country on the founding principles of security, stability and rule of law. Amir of Peace and Prince of Humanity, and the big heart of Kuwait will always be remembered. May his soul rest in peace. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubai, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
It is with great sorrow and deep sadness that we lost the late Emir, His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Sabah of Kuwait. A huge loss for all of us, for the people of Kuwait, for us here in Oman, for the whole world. He was a man of peace. He was a man of love to humanity and people. He loved our country, Oman, and it's really one loss for all of us in Oman and Kuwait as well. Our thoughts are and prayers are with his loved ones and the people of Kuwait and the whole world, really. We pray to Almighty Allah to rest his soul in eternal peace. And again, it's a big loss for all of us. And we wish the people of Kuwait prosperity again under the new leadership of Sheikh Nawaf Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah. And inshallah, our relationship will continue to prosper under the new leadership just as well as it was under the late Emir.
The scheduled international flights were resumed today through the Sultanate's airports after suspension since the end of last March due to COVID-19 pandemic. Oman airports imposed preventive measures on arriving and departing passengers to limit coronavirus pandemic and ensure the safety of all. Among the implemented measures are providing special passageways to conduct lab tests for the virus for persons inside vehicles and at the parking lots in Muscat International Airport and Salalah Airport. Sultanate starts the implementation of a selective tax on sugary drinks by 50% within the Gulf Cooperation Council Unified Agreement on Selective Tax. The tax will be implemented on drinks that contain sugar and its derivatives and other sweeteners, concentrates, powders, and substances that can be transformed to sugary drinks that include juices, fruits drinks, sports drinks, packaged coffee, and tea drinks. The tax will exempt fruits, juices, and natural vegetables by 100% and milk and dairy products when it contains not less than 75% of milk and food supplements and drinks assigned for special nutritious and medical uses. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq offers his condolences on the death of late Emir, His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq returns to the Sultanate after a short visit to the state of Kuwait. His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, may Allah rest his soul in peace, exerted great efforts to enhance peace and solve Arab and global issues. The Sultanate resumes international flights after being suspended since March due to COVID-19 pandemic. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin. Thank you for joining us, and good night.